All right. So welcome everyone. My name is Devin De Palacio. I'm the Director of Community Outreach for Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Central Arizona. And I want to thank you all. I want to thank each and every one of y'all for making a time to join us here this evening for a discussion on the power of mentoring in the Latinx community. The power of mentoring in the Latinx community. There has been so many things happening in our community, from the pandemic to racial inequities and protests and so on and so forth. We know that, schools have been closed for the last few months. And so we know that our kids and our youth need us now more than ever. They are in need of a champion, a buddy, a friend, someone that can be in their corner to help them get through life's most challenging times. And so I am so thankful to all of our guests joining us, but I'm especially thankful to all of our panelists. Our panelists are real community leaders in their respective areas, and they do a ton of great work. And so I'm just so thankful that they've made time here to share their wisdom and their life experience with all of us. And so with that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to ask questions of our panelists. Each panelist will have roughly 2 minutes to talk. I know for some of you, Marcelino, that might be a little hard, but we'll make it work. We're going to make it work. I'm kidding. That's my brother right there. But and then after we ask our questions, we invite our audience to ask to post questions in the chat there to your right. We're going to post your questions to the right there, and we will get to those at the very end. And so before we introduce the panelists and we jump right into our discussion, I just want to share a little bit about Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Central Arizona. Most of you have heard of our organization. We're nationwide. We have affiliates all across the nation, and we're even in 30 countries across the world. And so here in the Valley, we've been serving youth for about 65 years. And since our inception here in Arizona, we've served over 60,000 youth in our community who have needed a mentor, who have needed a friend. And we're talking all across the Valley, in Maricopa County and Pinal counties. And so, and really our mission is to provide one-to-one access to an adult to help ignite the full potential of our youth. That's what we do. We want to ignite the full potential of our youth. That's it. We know mentoring works. And we've also identified that just here in Maricopa County alone, there are over 180,000 youth who need our services. 180,000 youth who need our services, okay? And we serve kids all over the spectrum. We enroll littles or our youth from ages 6 to 15, okay? 6 to 15. Majority of the kids we serve are kids of color. So Latinos, African Americans, Indigenous, okay? And so also, a lot of the youth that we serve have 1 to 2 or more ACEs. ACEs meaning adverse childhood experiences, okay? Adverse childhood experiences. An adverse childhood experience, for those of you who don't know, can range from anything to being exposed to domestic violence, to housing insecurity, food insecurity, and so on. And so the CDC did a study a few years back on ACEs. And they said for any youth that experiences 2+ ACEs, 2 or more ACEs, are more than likely to drink alcohol and start using drugs, are more than likely to drop out of high school, are more than likely to engage in risky behaviors. And unfortunately, they even have a lower mortality rate. And I'm sure we can all agree that it's sad that we can actually pinpoint data to certain zip codes and predict how long someone is going to live. It's extremely unfortunate, but that's the reality of it. And so they said the one way to mitigate all of those negative outcomes is to provide access to one stable, nurturing adult. That's it, access to one stable, nurturing adult. It's not rocket science. It's just one caring person. One caring person. So that's the work that we're focused on Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Central Arizona. And we're so glad that y'all can join us here for this engaging discussion. Our youth need us. And so let's listen, let's learn. This is a courageous space, so please ask your questions and let's get ready for a great conversation. If I can just ask the panelists to go one by one, unmute yourself, and please give us your name and your title and what brought you here this evening. We'll begin first with what I see on my left side of my screen, Marcelino.
All right, good afternoon, buenas tardes. Let me begin first by thanking Devin Del Palacio and Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Central Arizona for providing this platform from this conversation. I am the Director of Educational Outreach and Partnerships at Arizona State University. Additionally, I am a published playwright, and I have served in public office as a member of the Roosevelt School District Governing Board. I am here today because none of those things would have been possible without the guidance of a mentor, someone to show me the way and ask me questions to get me there. So it's my way of thanking those folks that have done that for me. So honored to be here today.
Thank you, Marcelino. We appreciate you for joining us tonight. Let's go on down to Mr. Adam Lopez Falk.
Good evening, everybody. Adam Lopez Falk. I am the Director of Leadership and New Donor Acquisition for Valle del Sol, a community healthcare company here in Arizona and New Mexico. I'm also a 12-year member of the governing board for the Alhambra Elementary School District over on the west side of Phoenix. I'm just so grateful to be here and spend some time with all of you this evening. And hello to all my fellow panelists, and hope that you're all doing well. Devin, thank you for convening this room and allowing us the opportunity to share these stories. And I think that I want to echo what Marcelino said about those people taking the time to invest in us in answering those questions and putting themselves into us. And that's really what mentorship has meant to me growing up and everything that I've been a part of, but also what I try to hope that I'm able to pass on to people that I work with today. Mentorship works. It's so very, very important for our communities. And I think all of us on this panel are examples of positive mentorship, either through what we do in the community or what has been given to us. So thank you, everybody, for having me, and excited for the conversation.
Thank you, Adam. We appreciate you for being here. Carlos, you're next on my screen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Devin, again, and the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization, thank you for this opportunity, for this honor. Real honor to be here and share the stage with the other panelists. My name is Carlos Velasco. I am the founder and CEO of Noble. We are an organization whose focus is to connect good brands to the Latino community in ways that are meaningful and also profitable. Our approach has really been centered around connecting various organizations to the leadership base of our community. We are invested in hopefully being a connector and a bridge to help in any project that's moving the needle in the progression and growth of the Latino community. So again, Devin, thank you so much for this opportunity to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carlos, for being here tonight. Ms. Mayor Tovar.
Well, good evening, and thank you, Devin, for putting this webinar together. It's such an important issue, and just honored to be on with my friends and leaders here in our community doing great work. I'm currently the mayor in the city of Tolleson, and for me, mentorship has been pivotal of where I am today. And it was instilled in me first by my grandparents, but definitely making sure that we move forward, and especially as female leaders, we need to encourage our young little girls that they can be anything they want to be. So I'm excited to be on this panel, share some great thoughts with all of y'all, and have a good conversation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mayor. Okay, on my screen, I have here next Mr. Manny Rios. Looks like you're on Zoom, on mute there, Manny.
Can you guys hear me now? Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Buenas tardes. My name is Manny Rios. I'm a patrol sergeant with the City of Avondale Police Department. I've been with the Avondale Police Department for about 5 years. And before that, I was a police officer at the Gila River Police Department for 4 years. I'm a native Arizonan, first generation American, grew up in South Phoenix area. And I was looking at some of the members here that are joining us here, and I saw Miss Rosemary Ibarra Hernandez. So I'd say hello to her. I've known her since she started the Aguila program. So I'm very big into helping out our youth, just seeing, all the opportunities that were given to me. I went to the Roosevelt School District as a kid, and I was lucky enough to get a lot of scholarships, to include ASU, where I graduated in 2008, Go Devils. And now I feel that not only as a Latino male, but also as a police officer and a person of color, it's important to give back to the community, and also with the
Big Brothers and Big Sisters program, where I actually met with my little brother yesterday. So I'm excited to move forward with that and do great things. So I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for letting me be part of this panel as well.
Well, we appreciate you, Officer Rios, and congratulations on recently becoming a big brother. That's huge. We appreciate you. And certainly, last but not least, my dear friend, Miss Tida Garcia.
Hi, Devin. Thank you, first of all, for having me a part of this panel. I'm Tida Garcia. My daytime job is I am the Director of Delegation Oversight at United Healthcare, so I have many years in healthcare. And then I have the opportunity and just privilege to serve the Tolleson community with serving as a board member for Tolleson Elementary School District, alongside with Dr. Hightower. I don't know if she's on, but she's amazing, and Mayor Tovar's support always for our community. And then I have a small business, which is kickboxing and boxing, and so that's part of my advocacy is for mental health and making sure that there's healing through different avenues, and health is key. And so that's Knockout Fitness that I have on the side. And most importantly, I'm a mom. And so I always feel that if I can mentor my children inside, I teach them about volunteering and how do we give back to the community. And if it's just a smile a day, that you could change somebody's purpose and that bad day into a good day, that's what we're here for. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of this panel.
Tida, thank you for being here. And everyone on the panel is a parent, and so we agree with you. We are right there. And so let's jump right on into it. So, and disclaimer, like I said, I'm a parent, so you might hear my child in the background, all right? Let off a scream or two, but they're healthy screams, okay? So let's jump right into it. Given the recent events that have been happening in our community, like as I mentioned earlier, from the pandemic to the civil unrest, how have those events had an impact on you as a leader? And how do you see mentoring? How do you see mentoring as a solution through everything that's happening in our community? And so, again, how have these current events impacted you as a leader? And how do you see mentoring? How do you see mentoring as a solution to help us through this difficult time? And so we'll go ahead and begin with Ms. Garcia on your end.
Well, I think during any time, a youth that has sometimes, can you hear me? I'm on, okay. Sometimes there's the support of a parent or a caregiver is not always available for our kids, right? And so during all of these times it's stressful. It's stressful for an adult with everything that's happening around the world in 2020 is overwhelming. And so I always go back to think that I was a youth, definitely one of those youth that you had just mentioned that had a very dysfunctional kind of childhood. And there were certain people in my life that still to this day I will call on because they took the time to invest in me. And it was their time to, even if it was just to sit down and have a conversation with me and tell me, you know what, you're worth more. You can do more. Don't limit yourself to that small little box. Have big dreams, build dreams. I think that because of that, it allowed me never to give up and just to continue to move and go forward. And I think us as an adult, that's our giving back. Our youth is our future. And if they don't have people like us to see that we've made it and can continue to make it and give back, then what hope do they have? So yeah. I believe in everything with mentoring.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tida. Mayor Tovar, as a mayor of a city, as a parent, as a former educator yourself, I mean, certainly what's happening in our community has had a certain impact on you as a leader. Share your insight with us, and how do you see mentoring fitting in to help as a solution?
Thank you, Devin. Yes, I would say that during this pandemic, we don't have a playbook in regards to how we handle a pandemic. So I've been very proactive in regards to trying to making sure, I should say, that safety is our #1 priority here in our city. So for the youth, my component of it, especially when we had peaceful protest here in Tolleson, was to reach out to them and hear them. Hear what they're worried about, hear what they're upset about, and hear how we can as leaders, join with them so that we can unite them and in making sure that we're validating them right now. And I think that was probably the most important piece right now that I've been trying to engage our youth in making sure that, yes, even though it's a pandemic, even though we're at home, these are difficult times for all of our families, but each of us play an important role in this pandemic, and making sure that our youth know that they're important. We want to hear from them. We just had covered up some listening talks that we had within our police chief and myself. And we had 15-minute one-on-one conversations with youth. One of those was about 10 youth that were on a call with us. And I was just blown away about the things that are concerning them, the things they want solutions for. I mean, definitely we're in great hands for our future because they're leading us now. But for me, it was important to hear them and say, look, we're gonna build solutions together, because there is no way out of this unless we're all in it together, and we're gonna become stronger. And I definitely feel that our youth here in our community are stepping up, and they are leading, and they're telling us what they want to see. So,
yeah, no, you're right. You're right on point. Listening is a key for a lot of us adults. Majority of the time, we have to do more listening. And in that realm, I'm gonna jump over to Officer Rios. I mean, you being an officer out in the field in the West Valley, given what the mayor has said, how has this had an impact on you and what you do in your everyday role? But then also too, as a parent. And then how do you see mentoring coming into this? Like I said, as I just mentioned, you just became a big brother. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, these times have definitely changed us. But I'm proud to say that my agency and our city leadership and our residents of Avondale have always been on the same page, and that's to listen to each other. Our department's mission, vision, values, serving with honor, and that's what we do. And, with the whole COVID-19, like when the pandemic first started, these are uncharted waters. Everyone was scared. Our families were scared. We didn't know what to expect. But the one thing we did in that situation was show concern, and just listen to one another. And we've done that. And now with the civil unrest that occurred, with the unfortunate events that took place in the country, we also had, some of our citizens that gathered in our city and they're peacefully protesting. And the one thing that we've always stood by and said is that we're always going to listen. We're always going to do the right thing. How this has changed the way that we deliver service is just being more aware of our surroundings, being better listeners, better communicators, and just making sure that we embrace each other's diversity, our values, everybody's walks of life. Here in our city, it's a very big city. We have about 90,000 citizens, give or take. And everybody has a unique story. Everybody comes from a different background. And as a sergeant, as a leader for the police department, with patrol officers, I always tell them to treat people that we come in contact with on a daily or nightly basis just as you would a family member. I have family that live here in Avondale, so I always make sure that I'm like, hey, you never know, you might be going to my sister's house or something like that. I'm like, so just treat everybody nicely the way you'd want to be treated. And all those calls that we go to and every interaction that we have, the one set of eyes that always looks at you are little kids. And that's why I wanted to make a commitment to the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, is because we do have a lot of kids. And, a lot of the stuff that our kids see on TV is, fear the police, fear this and that. And it's not necessarily true. I mean, we're here to help. And so I make it a point every time we have a kid on a call or something like that is, just to get to know them, give them a little fist bump, or now we do the turkey wing, right? But just to make their day, give stickers, little hats, things like that. But what I want to contribute, I'm a HLI graduate. I just graduated in the winter with Adam here as our facilitator for that. I made a promise that I wanted to help out my community by bringing the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, specifically the police program, which is called the Bigs in Blue or Bigs with Badges, depends on what part of the country it is. And I'm the first police officer in the West Valley to be a Big Brother Big Sister with the Bigs in Blue program. And my goal is to make sure that we have at least 10 police officers from Avondale to be part of that program so we can give back. I'll share a little bit with my little brother yesterday.
he's been on the list for 3 years, waiting for a mentor, 3 years. And, you know, it's kind of unacceptable because they should have mentors. They should have people that they can come to and confide in. So if anything, like this whole situation with 2020 is just making us kind of step back, appreciate, listen better, communicate better. So we're going to come out of this together. And that's pretty much what we're going on here today.
Yes, Officer Real, you're right on point. And you mentioned something there, right? You said your little brother had been on the wait list for up to 3 years. And so, listen, folks, that's an unfortunate reality. We have, currently we have 105 little brothers on our wait list who are waiting for a big brother. And a lot of it is just, we just can't find enough men that want to volunteer, especially men in the West Valley. And so I thank you for bringing that up, because that's a real call to action for all of us to do our part to try and get these young boys somebody they can count on. Remember, we're not asking you to be, we're not asking, these kids don't need a savior. They're not asking for you to raise them. They want a buddy, they want a friend, someone they can count on. So thank you, Officer Rios, for that. Carlos, I want to jump over to you. As someone who helps Latino business owners and that makes all the connections to help get them going, how has this current situation in 2020 impacted you and what you do, and how do you see mentoring fitting in?
Well, yeah, it affected me tremendously. I think, you know, as business owners, we always are, you know, we're always in this position of creating contingency plans, always prepare for the worst, expect the best, and then always God throws you a curveball. So I think, you know, I think somebody spoke about empathy, and I think one of the first things that I needed to do was take care of myself. Because, you know, I think as all of us who are in serving leadership, our main focus always goes to the work that you're doing in community, how much you've done to progress it, to get it moving. Then something hits like this, and your immediate concern is what's going to happen to all this work, what's going to happen to all these families. You're dealing with your own chaos at home, right? Because as I have a 20-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 6-year-old, and making adjustments. So I think part of my process really was to allow myself some space for empathy. Make sure that I tap into my human space, do it quickly. And then really mentorship came into place as a light of hope, because what I realized is that what I needed was really to call my network and check in and just those phone calls, right? And allowing a space for people to vent, to talk, to show concern, and simply to listen. It did a lot for people, but it does also a lot for you as a leader. And, you know, and for me, my style really has been, it's just to maintain people grounded on reality. This is the reality that we have to face. And then to encourage people to seek opportunity, right? Opportunity for growth, for personal growth, for communal growth. Again, there's been a lot of positives that have come out of COVID-19. I think I mean, for me has been the time that I spent at home, now that I spend with my family, because, you know, we're always out and hectic. So that's been very positive. So that's really been my approach, right? Again, mentorship for me has been that place of human connection, where I seek human connection and reinforcement, and then also where I'm able to provide that for other people. So yeah, thank you, Devin.
No, thank you, Carlos. And I think a lot of times as folks who are out here in the community doing this work, we don't give ourselves a break sometimes. As you mentioned, we don't give ourselves times, you know, and space to breathe. And so thank you for bringing that up, because as mentors, it's important to understand that, or as examples of youth, that it's okay to take a break. It's all right. You know, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you a slacker, right? You know, because you can only do this work to the best of your ability by what you can bring to the table. And what you bring to the table oftentimes recharges when you rest. So right on point, Carlos. Adam, I want to jump on over to you.
Certainly, thank you, Devin, for the question. I want to say I think right now I'm operating in a couple different worlds. You know, it's been mentioned, Manny, and I know we got a couple of HLI alumni in here. I oversee the Hispanic Leadership Institute, which is a program of Valle del Sol. It is actually one of America's largest Latino professional development training programs. And we do these programs across the state, and typically we do everything in person. And right now we've shifted everything to Zoom. And so it's kind of like this, where we're meeting in this way, where we're not able to be face to face, playing off each other, looking at each other in the eyes. And for me, that was very, very tough. And now we're losing the human interaction of our times. And especially right now, I think with all the discussions around race, we need that so much more right now, is to see each other in person, to communicate, human to human, regardless of what our stands or things, are of that nature. We need to see each other. And so it's so important right now as leaders and as people in leadership positions, that we know that leadership doesn't end when we get to this point. This is still an opportunity for us to mentor, to reach out, as Carlos said, reaching out to people and connecting with people, just doing kind of check-ins, and caring for ourselves as leaders. And I think that right now, more than anything, mentorship should come into play in everything we're doing. Because something that I've reflected on in my other half of what I do, I'm a school board member too. And some of you might have seen this week, we've been working, myself and a few other school board members have been working very heavily to try to fight to move our beginning of our school year back a little bit, because we see that school campuses are potential huge locations of viral transmission of COVID-19. And we've looked at that as kind of like, how do we take those lessons of the people who came before us, and how do we look on what the example we want to make now is? There's something that somebody in HLI said at the end of one of our programs last week. He said, what kind of ancestor do we want to be? And I think right now for our community, this is such an opportunity to shine. This is such an opportunity to take up the mantle of leadership and to say things that need to be said and bring things to the forefront. And if you know somebody that's out there, mentoring them and giving them the opportunity to be a part of this, giving them an opportunity to add their 2 cents, it will absolutely change their life. And then for those people that have done that for you, make sure you reach out and let them know how much they've made an influence or impact on you, especially in trying times, because trying times is when we need our leaders the most. And I truly think that mentorship has always been on the forefront of my mind, especially right now, about how we start breaking these cycles, how we start assisting the next generation, and how we still build up those people that came before us and those people that will come after us.
Thank you, Adam. I love what you had to say. I think one thing that stuck out to me was, what type of ancestor do you want to be? That's pretty profound, right? That's pretty profound. None of us are going to be here forever. So what's that legacy look like? And then another thing that popped out was what you mentioned was gratitude, reaching out and saying thank you to these folks, right? I mean, oftentimes we wait, unfortunately, to the last minute until they're gone. They're no longer here. And we oftentimes wish, man, I could have just let them know how thankful I was for them helping me here, or helping me there, right? So it goes back to that saying that we hear so often these days, is give people their roses while they're still here. Give people their roses while they're still around, right? There's no shame in telling someone that you're thankful and that you appreciate them, because you might sometimes only have one chance to do that. Thank you, Adam. Marcelino.
Great. For good or bad, I think this pandemic has provided us all with an opportunity to pause. I think as a society, we're often moving a little faster than we can also handle ourselves. And so this pandemic came and it really forced us all to pause and reevaluate and be reflective on the things that we've done or haven't done. When these protests, these rightful protests came about, it provided us all with an opportunity to listen. And so I think as leaders, it's also important to not often have the answers, but to provide an ear and to ask the questions. As I reflect on my mentorship, either being on the receiving end or giving it, it's really those questions that have been asked of me and that I've asked of others that sort of help that person get to the next level. And so while we're hearing a lot of social distancing, I think what is really important is that there not be any distance between humans. And so a lot of us are taking advantage of technology and the phone or whatnot, but I think it's also an invitation to continue building those connections. And then I want to say this briefly from a Latino perspective. This idea of mentorship is not foreign to us as a culture, as a community. Padrinos and madrinas are nothing more than mentors. It's those individuals that are younger than us, that look up to us for guidance, and those of us that have been blessed enough to do a number of things in our lives, that's where we get to provide some sort of guidance or path to be followed. So again, I think the pandemic brought us all to a pause. And I think the peaceful protests that have occurred have provided us all with an opportunity to listen and to really be an agent of change and support.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Marcelino. And I think, so what you hit on was, hey, it's in the culture. Mentoring is already built into the culture. We have to be able to tap into that and to ensure that this continues. And so which leads me to my next question. This time I'll start off with you, Marcelino, is we all stand on the shoulders and sacrifices of those that came before us. So who was that one person for you? Was it a family member? Was it someone in the public eye for you? Who was that one person that sort of shaped who you are today? That'll be the same question for the rest of the panelists. We'll go ahead and begin on the opposite end now. Back to you, Marcelino.
So we really need to schedule a longer session for me to really go down through my list of those individuals that have supported me. I'm not going to evade the question. I will answer it, but I will tell you that there have been so many individuals that have come in my life that have provided that guidance that I needed. So I'm going to approach it through the various areas that I've been able to do. From a theater standpoint, James Garcia, he's a journalist and a playwright. James Garcia really gave me a shot. He was Lin-Manuel Miranda before Lin-Manuel Miranda. He gave me a shot, right? He said, here, Marcelino, here are some plays for you. When I was running to serve on the Roosevelt School District Governing Board, Dr. Jose Leiva gave me the greatest advice that you could ever give anyone. And he said, don't surprise people. He said, if you have an honest question that is genuine and you're really concerned with the answer, don't showboat. Don't go into a meeting to grandstand. Ask the question, but don't surprise people. So I think a lot of James. I think a lot of Dr. Jose Leiva, and then at St. Vincent de Paul, it was really an 82-year-old man named Terry Wilson who really provided me some guidance and some support. And then I'll briefly mention this. I'm not going to go over my 2 minutes, but I've since then been able to mentor 2 students through the One at a Time program at St. Vincent de Paul. Victor Arevalo, who graduated last year from ASU, became the first person in his family. And right now I have another young person named Alexis, who just completed his first year at ASU in engineering. And so all of the lessons that James, that Dr. Leiva, and that Terry bestowed on me, I've done my best to give them back to others.
Wow, that's amazing. And again, notice how easy it was to recall their names, right? Just like students remember they're good teachers, right? They're good teachers. We don't forget those folks who have made an impact in our life. And so that's awesome. Carlos, we'll go ahead and jump on over to you.
Thank you. And I think the best way I can answer that question, I think for me has been, so I was raised by my grandmother on my father's side. And by the time I came into her household, she was raising my dad, my uncle, and 2 aunts. 4 years prior of me being born, she had lost her oldest child at 21 from a drowning, and then my grandfather right after. So she had this big tragedies happen in her life consequently. And then when I turned 12, she had to make the tough decision of allowing me to come to the States. So in some ways losing another child, because then I didn't get to see her for another 18 or 19 years or so. So for me, I think she's really been an example of what sacrifice is, and for their better being, what love means, right? It's this idea that you really have to look out for the real interest of a person and their opportunity. And then, my dad as well. My dad lives in Ecuador, and he's had a lot of influence on me. He actually talked about this idea of sacrifice as the word carry it itself, right? It's something sacred that you do for your family, for your community. And then locally, I've had, a lot of various mentors. I think Armando Contreras has been one of the biggest mentors for me. You, Devin, Marcelino. There's a lot of other people that mentor you on the outside that they don't know that they're your mentors, but now with social media, you're allowed to see their lifestyles, their commitment to community. Mayor Ana Tovar, I know that I've seen you done some tremendous work with the city and, on the panelists. So I know Rosemary is here, and it's incredible the passion and the work that she's done for our youth. So again, I find inspiration in different spaces. Again, some people, they're direct inspiration. Some people, they might seem a little external. But again, I think I default back to the biggest inspiration for me has really been my mom, my grandmother. And
Wow,
her life.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful, Carlos. And what you said was, you know, sometimes you don't even know that you're having an impact in someone's life when it comes to mentorship. So you never really know how deep your impact, you know, how deep of an impact that you're having out in the community, right? And so that's what's really special, is that you just don't know. I mean, you could touch thousands of lives and not even realize it, especially through technology these days. And so thank you, Carlos, for sharing. We'll go and jump over to Adam.
So I think Carlos makes a great point, is that there's a lot of people around us that are our mentors that we don't necessarily know. I feel like I'm so fortunate in my life to have people who are around my age who are my mentors, who take the time to spend time with me, who take the time to answer my questions, all that sort of thing. And so I think that's so fitting, is I think with our generation, we look at that a lot more. It's not necessarily an older figure who's been there, but it's the people around us, because I think we seek these connections a little bit more. But then I think that, you know, the big thing about, especially, you know, the Latino community is storytelling. And we don't necessarily know that story that somebody told us is going to affect us that much, but it really does. And it sticks with us and gives us those lessons. Or if I was to name one person, it's always when I talk about mentoring, when I think about mentoring, I think about one specific interaction with somebody that really, I think, changed my life. And that was an interaction I had with Carolyn Warner, who was a former state superintendent of public instruction. She had ran for governor and senate, a very strong political and education figure, not just locally, but nationally. And I remember my first interaction with her. I knew exactly who she was because I was a nerd and I read Arizona history books. But she treated me like a normal person. We were at a large political event. She invited me to sit down next to her. She talked to me like we were old friends. She introduced me to people that were coming by. And it was just this idea that somebody that was so high could be so just peer to peer with me, I think has stuck with me and it's always guided a lot of the way that I interact with folks, or hope to interact with folks. And we remained, you know, good friends until she passed away. And so I think about those interactions and the mark that I want to leave on other people. And for me, it always comes back to that interaction with Carolyn. And Devin, to your point, she did that for so many of us. And I think so many of us didn't have the opportunity to tell her, or didn't think to tell her, how much of an impact she made on us. And so I think it's so important that we do tell our friends, do tell our family, everybody who was there for us, that they have been there for us and made that impact on us.
Thank you, Adam, for sharing that. It's pretty powerful. I think what stood out to me there was that you said it didn't matter her title, state superintendent or not. She treated you like you were a close friend. And that can sometimes mean just so much, like to let someone know that when they're in your presence or you're in their presence, that you're the only person that matters right then and there, making them feel special.
We all want to feel important. We all want to feel appreciated. And that's the best way to make somebody feel important and appreciated, is to give them all your attention. Look at them in the eyes. Try to just connect with them in those ways that are so important to us, because it feeds our soul. It feeds us. It makes us feel good. It makes us feel energized. And that's really, I mean, I think that's the power of that mentorship and those interactions, is how much of that impact that it continues to have. This for me was 13 years ago, I think, and it still sticks with me. Something I think about on a very regular basis. So I think that's it. Just always, it shows how powerful respect and human interaction can be.
Indeed. Thank you, Adam, for sharing. Appreciate that. Mary Tovar.
Yes. Well, where do I start? But I would say first would be my grandparents, my great-grandparents. They were probably the first that were always, andale lucha, you can't, so that for me was my first experience. And then when I entered school, I would say my second grade teacher, and who I had the honor of, after I graduated from ASU, went and taught at the same school I went to in Tolleson at PH Gonzalez, and got to teach with my mentor, Mrs. Mina Medina. And she also taught my sons as well too. So it was like just a full circle moment to be with her as well too. And so she taught me a lot. in regards to that. Another one is during high school is I was part of the Jobs for Arizona Graduates, and Miss Gracie Candia was definitely part of an inspiration to me. She's the one that taught me in life, Anna, you need a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. And sometimes you'll need that plan D. So you always got to be ready, and don't wait for someone to invite you to something. You invite yourself, and you go and you show up and you speak your mind. I would say also during junior high school, some of my saving graces were my coaches when I was playing sports. Those were just very inspiring because it was, having the first time competing, with a team and being part of a team outside your family. That was something that was very special to me. And having those coaches definitely, not only, drilling you on different exercises and getting you in shape, but definitely those coaches were there to inspire that sense of team and how you work together. And I know that David Solano, I see David Solano right now on this. I want to give him a shout out because he is a coach with Solano Ballers, and he also coached my son, both my sons as well too, in basketball. And he's out there, David is out there doing amazing things in our community with their kids. He's out there mentoring, he's out there pushing these boys and girls to be the best person they can be, and using basketball as that outlet to them to, have that confidence come out in them. So thank you, David, for everything that you're doing. Appreciate it. Keep it up, buddy. Keep it up. I would say during my just political service, one that just stands out as well is she was a former mayor of Avondale, Mayor Marie Rogers. Lopez. So she's one that I can just vent to. And, it's so funny because she'll say, don't worry, mija, I've been through that. Here's what you got to do. So those, I love just speaking with her as well too, and just getting that information. When I went to the state capitol and was serviced there, I knew right away I had to target someone. So, for those that are out there, don't be afraid to ask for a person to be your mentor. I'm actually right now, I'm running statewide for Arizona Corporation Commission, and I'm looking for commissioners out across the nation to be like, who can be my mentor and help me through this process of the new role that I'll take. So, for me, it's been a wide variety. And then I've also had some bad mentors as well too. And I won't name names, but it just didn't work out because they expected something in return. And that to me was just, it broke my heart because I was like, wow, I thought you were here and you really want to help. And then it was like, boom, this is what I need. And I need you to do this. And I was like, okay, no, you can't be a mentor. So, also be aware there's good and there's bad, but when there's bad, learn to just walk away and find another person that's going to value you and help build you up and not expect anything in return.
Wow. So Mayor Tovar just dropped a bunch of nuggets on us, a bunch of jewels on us. She took us from, and as you can see, mentorship lasts a lifetime. So it's not just for kids. It's not just for youth. As an adult in our careers, we need those mentors to help guide us through challenging situations. So although we serve our youth, many of these relationships go on into their adulthood. There's a comment in the chat that one of our bigs posted in there. She's just recently celebrated her 7-year anniversary, okay, with her little 7 years. And so these relationships sometimes last a lifetime. And that's amazing. Another jewel that I took away was, hey, listen, don't be afraid to ask for a mentor, right? It's not like everyone has a sign with mentor on their forehead. Sometimes you got to ask, right? You got to get out of your comfort zone and just ask for help. There's no issue. It's not a weakness to ask for help and to ask for a mentor. And so thank you, Tovar, for taking us through that entire journey. And you know what? Shout out to the coaches. Coaches are mentors. That's what a coach is. They're mentors. Coach Solano, I appreciate you for being here on this call and joining us today. Coaches are mentors. I never forget, actually, my coach just reached out to me 2 days ago, football coach from high school. He's now a teacher at one of the schools that are in my high school district, in the Tolleson Union High School District that I sit on as a governing board. He reached out to me and said, hey, it's Coach Irish. Just want to say I'm proud of you. This and that. You're doing everything I taught you to on the field. Now you're taking it in person and doing it. And so I was so happy to hear from him. And I said, thanks, Coach. And I'm a grown man. I still call him Coach, because that's just who they are. They're mentors and they're long-lasting relationships. So thank you for sharing that, Tovar. Let's go ahead and jump over to Tida. Who was that one or several folks that had an impact to making you the person you are today? Oh, is she frozen? Yeah, it looks like she might be. Oh,
I think so.
oh, there we go. I see. All right, Tida, we're gonna pause real quick. We're gonna come back to you. Officer Rios, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. So who was that one person for you? Who was that one
So
person that shaped the person you are today?
absolutely. So I have a long list of mentors. I'll try to go here quick. First and foremost, I'd like to say my mom was a mentor. I grew up without a dad, so I grew up in a one-parent household. And my mom worked 2 jobs, and you know, they were labor-intensive jobs. I would see her when I come home from school, and she'd always work hard. So she instilled that work ethic in me. She always said, "Mijo, dale ganas." And you know, I didn't get like chores money or anything like that, but my greatest, I guess, mentorship from my mom was that she showed me that as long as you work hard at something, great things are going to happen. So she set that foundation with me. And as far as like that, having like that male mentor, I know a lot of us have already spoke about coaches and stuff. Mine would be Coach Manny Acosta. He was a longtime coach at Cesar Chavez High School and Fairfax High School. So when I got to high school, I started playing football, and Coach Acosta was my football coach for 4 years. And he also became my padrino my senior year in high school. So that was pretty cool. And, you know, growing up as an adult and as a police officer, you always try to find mentors. So you look up to your sergeants and things like that. And like you said, there should be no shame in giving people their congratulations or props when they're due. So for me, my mentor as an adult would be our assistant chief, Chief Memo Espinoza. He's from Avondale, originally from Yuma. He's a graduate from Agua Fria High School, so he's like very invested into Avondale. He's a great man, a great leader, Marine Corps veteran. So you always try to find people that are going to mentor you for all the right reasons. And he's a good mentor, not only as a professional, but also on a personal level, teaching me to be a better man and a better leader for our agency. And yeah, you hit it right on the head in the beginning. Like, never be afraid to give somebody their thank yous. Mine would be Mr. Ortega, Mr. Carlos Ortega. He was a very instrumental in me going to college when I was in high school. And like I said, Miss Rosemary Barr Hernandez, at the beginning of this, you know, they always say education first, mijo, education first. So now, being in leadership position, I was a training officer. Now I'm as a patrol sergeant. I have a lot of people that look up to me. So it's my job to give back everything that I've learned, because one of my mottos is, you always leave this place better than what you found it. And I believe one of the panelists said it earlier, be that ancestor that everyone looks up to. So just be a leader every day.
Manny, yeah, you hit the nail right on the head, brother. And, you know, I want to say that about the youth we serve, 69%, okay, 69% of our youth come from single parent households, okay, 69%. So when I hear you say, Manny, hey, I was raised, you know, single parent, that's a majority of the kids we serve. That's just the reality of that, you know, of it these days. And so these kids really do need somebody. And as you can see, man, the impact that you can have is just amazing. The potential a human being has is just off the charts. And so thank you for that. Tida, we're going to go back to you. Sorry we lost you, but hopefully you can hear us now. And who was that one person for you?
You can hear me now, right? I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. So I have been thinking through everybody's conversation, like that who's impacted me on my life has been my kids. Honestly, I was a young mom, you know, was young. And so my children every time have inspired me to try to be a better example in life and a better mother for them. And that's just, they're a gift to me, and I probably drive them crazy, but I feel that they have, every step of my way, have been my purpose in life, is to make sure that I do leave a legacy for them, or leave something that they can be proud of. Now, through your career and through interactions, like Mayor Tovar had said, you have good and you have bad. And from the bad encounters, you just take what you don't want to be like as an individual or as a leader. But I can say I had one mentor through my career that always stands out to me, and her name's Kim Windsor, Kimulette Windsor. She's amazing. She has been in healthcare. She's an attorney. But one time I had to present to a big group of board of directors, and I was all anxious, and kind of thinking of that title. These are doctors, these are CEOs, you know, how am I going to present in front of them? And she looked at me after I presented. Of course, she told me, let me talk to you. And I was like, yeah. She's like, nobody knows your area like you, right? It's like, no, of course not. I know it. And she goes, you've been doing this business, you know your team. Go in whenever you have to present, it doesn't matter who it is, and present and give the information that you know. There's nobody higher than anybody else. She says, you might not have all the titles like other people, but you are just as important. And just her words that she gave to me every time when I go in front of a meeting and I'm sitting there looking around, I still get anxious. I still don't like public speaking, but I hear her voice. Like, you need to be confident. You are something, you're more than what you think you are. And so I think those little moments that you get from people that pass through your life always stick with you. Dr. Hightower, being on the school board, she is absolutely amazing. I don't know when that woman sleeps. She, you know, I don't think she sleeps, but just her love for the children, her love for passion. I think that is.
Oh no, looks like she might have dropped off. Dang, she was just getting into it too. Dr. Lupita, I can just co-sign, is a tremendous education advocate, leader. She does so much for the West Valley and the youth in the town of Tolleson and surrounding West Valley cities. That's not even, I mean, she's just amazing. And so we'll wait for Tida to get back on. But I mean, yeah, no, that was great. And so on to our next question. As I mentioned earlier, it's a struggle to get men to volunteer, but it's also a struggle to find volunteers of color, Latinos, getting Latinos to volunteer, right? We know representation is extremely important. Everyone on the panel is in a leadership position. You're in a leadership position, and sometimes you might be the only leader that looks like you in certain rooms. And so you carry a lot of weight. So with that being said, we do have a lot of mentors who come through our program, big brothers or big sisters who are white, right? And so what advice do you have for the white allies who want to come in and who are mentoring our young Latino kids? What advice would you get them? Because oftentimes the questions I get are, you know, well, how do I have a discussion with my kid about what's happening, what they're seeing on TV? What can I do? So what can our white allies do? What can our white big brothers and sisters do as they're serving our kids to be a better mentor? And I'll just let the panelists unmute themselves and anyone can address this question.
Devin, I'll jump in here if that's okay. I come from a person with a foot in two worlds, and I have a weird light coming through my window right now, so disregard that on my face. It kind of looks like a cool sunglass or Data from Star Trek. I have my foot in two worlds. I come from a Mexican mother and a white Midwestern father. I am white passing. I look like my father. I have a huge head like him. I got big ears like him. So it allows me the opportunity to be in both worlds and be a part of two different discussions. And I think what I'd say as the biggest piece of advice to white allies who want to work with our community, because in 10 years, 2030, Latinos are going to be the majority here. We are going to have the power in the state, and our power is growing. And I think I had a conversation earlier about the impact of the program that I oversee, HLI. 46 elected officials across the state came from our program and are leading in positions. And Mayor Tovar, I'll definitely single you out because you have been leading on the COVID-19 stuff at a level that is so much needed in our communities. And so our impact is great. Our impact is growing. And we are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And for white allies who want to assist in that community, to help in the community, remember, we will accept you if you sit there and listen. If you want to talk to us, if you want to get to know us, if you want to communicate with us, there's no answer to say how you be best. It's just be present with us. Allow us the space to lead. Allow us the opportunity to share experiences. We don't need anybody riding in on a white stallion to be our savior. We will do that for ourselves. But be there, support us, and allow us that chance to lead and help bring us into those spaces that we don't exist in. Our saying in HLI is, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And that is true for everything that we do. And I think that's very true even in mentorship, is that if we're not including ourselves in that and being part of that, we are leaving ourselves and severely hurting our community's future. So I would just add that to that question. Thank you, Devin.
Thank you, Adam, for leading us off on that. And again, guys, this is a real question. I mean, I'm sure most of you guys will agree that in light of the recent events that have been happening, I have received a ton of emails from white colleagues and allies reaching out, asking what they could do to be better servants when it comes to working with our community. And so, would anyone else like to chime in on this? I think this is a very important question, and this is something that I think can be very valuable to ultimately have an impact on the kids, because look, folks are going to volunteer from all different walks of life, and so not all of them are going to look like us. However, I think it's important they understand the culture. So what else can these allies do? Just unmute yourself and feel free to hop on in. Manny?
Devin, this is Manny. I'll join in. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So I think through programs such as HLI that we have, those are good segues to help our white allies see what it is that, like, for example, our Latino culture go through. Like you talked about in the beginning, like the ACEs. Not a lot of people know about ACEs, and I didn't even know about ACEs. I knew we come from a line of struggle, but when you came and presented to us at the HLI, and we start talking about ACEs, you see how far behind the table we are, and it's shocking, because we live it, but you don't think of it as being a big problem, because it's commonplace, because that's the world we live in. But I believe, empathizing, sympathizing, and also being part of the solution to help us, come to normalcy. And like I was trying to say, it was like in HLI, we had some non-Latino people in our class, and it helped open their eyes. And they're doing, big things to try to bring in the culture as well. But we just need to be more educated, with our white allies, and just, man, there's just so much work that we can do together, and it's just all coming to and that's basically what it is. It's being together, working together, helping each other out, and just helping us progress forward.
Agree, Manny. Thank you for that. Would anyone else, any other panelists like to chime in on this question before we move on? All right, thank you. So basically, what I heard was listen, empathize, and educate yourself. Educate yourself, right? We have this wonderful thing called a smartphone. There's YouTube, there's tons of books and movies and TV. And I mean, there's no excuse why you can't educate yourself on how to be a better ally and really be a co-conspirator in ensuring that you're actually doing the work, right? When you see something wrong, speak up, right? Sometimes your voice carries a lot of weight, more than others. And even though that's not fair, but that sometimes is the reality. So it's important that when you see something wrong, that our allies speak up and they stand with us. So thank you for those who answered that question. Now, on the opposite side, how do we address mentoring, the challenge of mentoring in our community, the Latino community? How do we address the challenge? Because I mentioned, there's not many of us that sign up to become Big Brothers and Big Sisters to work with us. And although I know we do mentor in our communities, but so how do we get over this hump that exists? How do we recruit more folks into our program from our community to mentor our kids? And again, I'll open it up to any of the panelists that want to address this. Marcelino, and then Carlos.
Devin, so I think it's demystifying this idea that a mentorship has to come in with big titles and big accomplishments. I think it's making sure that folks understand that a mentorship, a relationship that's based on mentorship is just two individuals coming together and listening to each other. The best mentorship that I've received are, and I've said this a number of times now, but it's really the questions that they've asked me to help me come to my own conclusions. And so it's a strategy that I've tried to implement with the people that I've been fortunate enough to mentor. I never provided them with their answers because I don't want to remove their agency from them. So the questions that I pose to them are geared around some experiences that I've had and some advice that I've received in my life. But ultimately, it's a series of questions to help those individuals get to their own conclusions. And so I think for our community to understand that being a mentor, and I mentioned this earlier as well, but it's not a foreign concept. Yo tengo muchos padrinos y madrinas. I am a padrino, right? And so I've had madrinas and padrinos that guide me and support me and ask me questions and just say, how are you, mijo? And so I think oftentimes just having that opportunity to ask a younger person, how are you doing? And then similar to what Adam said, and regardless of the circumstances or that person's background, but just listening and saying, how are you doing? And once, you know, you get that answer, helping them to have a better day, just like Ms. Garcia said earlier. So if they walk in there with a frown and you go through and you're mentoring them and you're asking them how you're doing, how they're doing, and if by the end of that, they walk out there with the smile on their face, you've done it. You've done a good job of mentoring. And so I think it's a continuation of those conversations, a repetition of those conversations that ultimately lead to a successful mentoring relationship.
Thank you, Marcelino. Demystifying what a mentor is, right? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have a big title. And really in our program, the minimum requirement is just twice a month for an hour. Okay, so twice a month at the minimum for an hour for 12 months. That's it. I think everyone has that amount of time, right? If we really truly want to make an impact in someone's life, we can do twice a month for an hour to make sure that a young person reaches their full potential. So thank you for touching on that. Carlos, I believe you had something?
Yeah, I would say that I think it's potentially, well, obviously this type of efforts are extremely important. Like I'm gonna have a follow-up conversation with you now that I'm able to be a mentor. But I do think it's around how do we present the value of mentorship to the mentor, right? Mentorship is really a value to leadership development for that individual, right? Because it is a responsibility. I've known big brothers who face various challenges with the kids, but there's been an intrinsic value for them as far as one, understanding their own position of privilege, two, understanding how to manage the development of a young adult. So again, I do think that there is a sense of how do we better market the value of what you get through a 2-year process of mentoring a young adult. And then I think also doing a direct task, Devin. I think that we're at a place, and I'm gonna speak for our Latino community, where we gotta have a sense of obligation. This is the future. And again, if you are in that position of privilege, like I find myself in this position of privilege, I have an obligation to mentor this youth and create systemic change through that process, right? So that those will be, those are my 2 points again, is we can't be afraid to ask, we can't be afraid to celebrate those who mentor, and we can, again, be afraid to create this sense of social pressure around, like, you're in a position where you can mentor, make the time, mentor a kid. Make this happen because it's for the greater good of our community.
Wow, thank you, Carlos. I get the goosebumps when I hear you say that, because look, sometimes you just have to be direct, right? And it should be an obligation. You know, I try to raise my kids, and many of you have met my daughters, and I try to raise them. I try to bring them around these events because I want them to see that service is not an option. It's not an option. It's a non-negotiable. You have to serve in some capacity. I don't care if it's a community cleanup, you're going to volunteer somewhere. It's just part of what we do. So mentoring should be rolled into that for a lot of us who are in these positions, is, hey, it's not optional. We got a mentor. We can spare 2 hours a month. And so thank you for touching on it. Did any other panelists want to address mentoring in the Latino community? How do we overcome this hump, this challenge to get our people rallied around our youth? Tida?
So when Devin calls you and says, hey, you know that there's over 105, I thought there's a little bit more, 105 young men that have been sitting, waiting for a mentor for 1.5 years. I took it as a personal mission. Like, what? How can young men from our communities need this much, you know, not have the support, and they're waiting for 1.5 years? If they're already in a household that they don't feel support, and they know that they've been waiting now for big brothers and big sisters, and nobody's been able to be their mentor, imagine what that child feels. So I start asking every friend that I know, hey, any male I know, hey, did you know that there's opportunity for you to be a mentor? It's, you know, about 2 hours a month, and you know, everything's Zoom right now, so there's not excuses that I can't drive here, I can't go there, and luckily we have I know one of the individuals, Leyland Jackson, I'll call him out. He was on the call earlier. He signed up. Is he on still? But amazing. Yes, yay. We have another one, Charles Sellers, he's joining. And then I convinced my oldest son. I kind of threw out that seed like, hey, and similar to what Marcelino had said, my son came back and was like, well, why would I be a good mentor? Like, what have I accomplished? I'm like, you have so much to give back to a young man. Talk about football. Doesn't matter. Talk about anything that can connect you to somebody. I said, just think about the mentors that you've had in your life. So that was a big win for me, is that my son has made that commitment. But we still have 105 young men that we need to get mentors. So that is a mission for me to talk about this program, speak about how we can get connected, because it is we have to be that example, and we need to just help our community so that way we're not like what Adam had stated. We don't want to be we want to be at the tables. We don't want to be dinner. We have to be at the table. That's the only way that we're going to have change, is seeing us, our youth, representing our communities.
Absolutely. I mean, yes, absolutely. And I'll even say this too, that we're in a huge dire need of bilingual mentors who can speak the language, right? Recently, I had a good friend of mine, and she's in this chat, Sofia Ramirez. She recently got matched with a little sister. The little sister was on the wait list for over a year because we couldn't find a bilingual big sister. The parents wanted someone who was bilingual, who could speak Spanish. And sometimes that causes kids to go on the wait list, because we try to honor preferences so that, you know, the relationship is sustainable and long lasting. This young girl sat on the wait list for over a year. Her little brother was able to get matched. He's been matched for 10 months, but this little young lady was on the wait list for over a year. So as you said, Tida, imagine feeling like, dang, like my little brother was able to get a big brother, and how come I don't have one? Is there no one for me? And so it is tough when we have to put a kid on the wait list. And so, but yeah, we're finally able to get her matched. So shout out to Sophia for stepping up and being a big sister. She's bilingual, speaks a language, and it's working out beautiful. She's 7 years old, and they're having a great time so far. And so, but this is a real thing. So Rios too. His little was on the wait list for 4 years. 4 years, because we couldn't find the West Valley, a man in the West Valley to sign up who was bilingual, who could speak the language. And I know this sounds crazy. I know this sounds wild, but these are realities that exist. And it sounds something so simple, like, dang, I know some couple people that speak Spanish, or I know somebody, we all know somebody. But the question is, can we push them? Can we ask them to say, hey, you've ever thought about this? Because Carlos is right. One of the benefits to mentoring is a lot of times you actually get a lot. You actually reap a lot of the benefits. You have a renewed sense of purpose, right? You yourself grow, because each mentor that comes in a program, you receive a personal coach, a program specialist who provides resources to you and coaching opportunities to guide you through how to have tough conversations. And a lot of those skills are transferable. You could take them into your own personal life, maybe with your kids or your family. So, I mean, just being a mentor alone is a benefit outside of having an impact on someone's life. It's developing you as a person, as a leader. And so tons of opportunities, but I wanted to bring that up, that we do struggle to find the mentors who are bilingual. And so thank you for that. And so, and I was which brings me to my next question was, what are some of the benefits? I just went over a bunch of them, but what are some of the benefits to you, to mentoring? You know, why should someone sign up? What's in it for me?
Devin, I think you touched on it. It's a two-way street, right? It's a two-way street. Not only do you give, but the endorphins that you get from your mentees when you're guiding them, and then they call you or they text you because they got into the school that they wanted to get into, or they're graduating and they let you know, it's remarkable. So it's a two-way street. I'll share a quick anecdote. I used to, I check in with my mentees every week, and it's a simple text. How you doing? Hey, kick butt this week, something to get them going. And I had messaged Victor every single first week of school when he was at ASU. And I had no idea he was doing this. But last year when he graduated, he shared a screenshot of every single text message that I had sent him the first week of school prior to the start of it. And he said, he doesn't know what these text messages did to me every single week. Needless to say, I had to, cry for a little bit by myself, and just the knowledge that your, in Spanish we say un granito de arena, your little grain of sand. Just knowing that your little granito de arena, your little grain of sand, is part of their ocean is an incredible feeling. So it's a two-way street. As much as I did my best to impart knowledge, I gained a lot from it, and I smiled a lot. So it's a two-way street.
Wow, and I think the key word, endorphins, man. It really does light up, right? It just, it's hard to quantify that feeling, right? When they reach out to you. Something as simple as sending a message and the kid says, hey, guess what? I've saved all of them. What? I mean, it's just an amazing feeling. Anyone else like to share on the benefits? What's in it for mentors as they come into this space?
Devin, I will say really quickly that I think there's a legacy benefit for those of you who are legacy thinkers, right? Like I speak from a point of how much impact the mentors have on me and how I carry that message and pass it along to others, always recognizing and giving credit to that mentor, right? And it's amazing how that, I have to tell you that I've been able to sustain my business through this pandemic and through many situations, because I had a business mentor, Rosa Macias, tell me that the key to success was administration. She's like, if you're not going to administer your business the right way, forget about everything else you're doing. And that stuck with me, dude. And it stuck with me, and I've invested a lot of money in administration to my business. And it's what's kept us afloat, and it's giving me an opportunity to succeed. So, and I share that wisdom in every small business that I meet, and I always give credit to my mentor, right, Rosa Macias. And like, I remember Rosa Macias told me once, now it's up to you whether you take it or not. And now they might take that credit and give it to me. Well, Carlos Velasco told me once, but I do think that it's a rewarding aspect of thinking about how you pass along heritage of mentorship and advice, and also how you develop your own legacy with it, because that's what people will remember you for, is that those advices you gave them made a difference in their lives.
The legacy. And sometimes, a lot of people like to quantify legacy as it being monetary, but a lot of times it isn't. It doesn't always have to mean monetary, right? Your legacy can be, what did you do for others? I think about people that pass, we don't remember that they drove a Mercedes or what type of suit they had on or dress or heels. People talk about the memories and how they made them feel, the moments they shared together, right? So it's what's your legacy? What's that dash going to be between the day you were born and the day you leave this planet? What's that dash going to reflect about the work that you've done while you were here? Is it going to say that, man, he was a sharp dresser, or she was a sharp dresser woman, or is it going to say, you know what? They really were there for folks. They were really someone that I could lean on, and will people have those stories to share about you? And so that's really what legacy. That's something for all of us to think about in terms of legacy. And so I do have another question, and this one's going to be for all the panelists. Okay, so if you had to mentor your 15-year-old self, what advice would you give as a mentor to the 15-year-old version of you? And so I'm gonna give you a second to think about that, because I know, that's a tough one. We weren't all perfect kids growing up, So I want you to think about that. If you had to mentor your 15-year-old self, what advice would you give to yourself as a teenager? And so, Adam, if you can hear me, we'll go ahead and begin with you.
So I appreciate that question. 15 was not fun for me sometimes, as I think it was probably not for a lot of us. It just finished. I'm doing my diligence as a board member, having our board meeting right here. So that's why you might see me going over here and talking. It just ended though. So now for the last question, you can have my attention. I would go back and tell my 15-year-old self, take every opportunity that's given to you. Don't take those opportunities for granted, and to hug everybody in your family. Like stop being a stupid teenager. I don't be straight, because that's what I would tell me. Stop being a stupid teenager and hug your family, because they might not be there when you need them. And so I think that's what I would go back and tell myself, that, hey man, come on, get it together. You can do this. Make the most of it.
Thank you for that, Adam. And thank all of you guys for being authentic and very candid with us. And so let's go ahead and jump on over to Manny. Can you hear me, Manny?
Yes, I can hear you now. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're fine. So what advice would you give your 15-year-old self, Manny? If you had to mentor 15-year-old Manny, what would you tell him?
All right, well, I'm glad my camera is disabled because I got a little bit of waterworks going on in my eyes. But it's like Adam said, sorry, getting choked up here, man. Just be appreciative of your people. Like I told you guys, my mom was the only parent I had, and I had to work hard every day. So sometimes when I was 15, I worked at Pizza Hut on South Central and Rozier. That was my first job, aside from going to school and playing football and all that. So I was always going 100 miles an hour and never really appreciating the people that were there to motivate me and help me out. And it's unfortunate now I'm in my 30s, and a lot of those people have passed on. So absolutely, if I was 15 again, I would take my time and just be appreciative, say more thank yous, dar más abrazos, and just be more grateful for all those people in your life that support you and motivate you. The work's always going to be there, the ethic's going to always be there, but those people are not. Life is short. So I just wish I could go back and tell my 15-year-old self, ponte las brecas, give Nana another hug, and yeah, just appreciate the people in your life that help you strive to be great.
Thank you for that, Manny. And, I agree with you. I think my allergies are acting up too, because this is getting kind of real. We're keeping it real here. And, but I think you're right. Sometimes as teenagers, as young kids, we think we're invincible. We think everyone's going to live forever. And we don't stop to think about it. So that's great advice that you would give to yourself, Manny. Great advice. Let's jump on over to Miss Tida. What would you give your 15-year-old self? If you had to mentor 15-year-old Tida, what would you let her know?
Yeah, I was having allergy issues also over here, so I don't know what's going on. It's hard because at 15, it was a very different scene for me. So, but it was just that life is going to get better and it goes by quick. So enjoy the moments, love the people around you, and like you said in the beginning, take a breath. Like if I could stop once in a while and just take a breath and realize what's around and where I can stay focused on and what I need to get done, and stop worrying about, I still have 30 other things to get done. I think that would have been good advice, because I don't think I've ever been a person to be really just slow and like stop. And so, but overall is that life is going to go, and can't stay 21 forever. The years keep on going quicker, and people that you thought would be there are not. And that's something that you have to live with every day. And so hug, like Adam said, hug them more.
Wow. Thank you for that, Tida. I appreciate that. And all those, a lot of you still look like you're 21. You guys all look good, by the way. So you can share your secrets on another call on how everyone looks so well and preserved. And so especially for the work that you all do and all the burdens you carry, you guys look wonderful. Mayor Tovar, what would you give your 15-year-old self? 15-year-old Anna right there running around in Tolleson, what would you tell her?
I would tell her to stop doubting herself. Stop worrying so much. Because ever since I was small, I could always remember as a big worry wart. Because that does nothing. That does nothing when you worry about something you have zero control over. Life is going to happen, and things are going to happen in life. And that I would also tell my 15-year-old self too, you are the company you keep. So choose wisely your friends, but always remember that your family will always be there for you, and cherish your family as well too.
Thank you for that. Don't doubt yourself, right? Don't doubt yourself. Don't be afraid to know that you belong. You belong in that room. You belong on that basketball court. Whatever it is, you belong in that space. So true. Carlos, what would you tell your 15-year-old self?
I would, I was envisioning this exercise, so I think I would probably give my 15-year-old self a big push, almost to the point where he might have fallen to the ground and be like, let's go. I think it would have been same thing, is appreciate your value. You got the work ethic, you fucking hustle hard. You hustle hard, and be a badass, right? So it's kind of the same thing I tell myself every morning in the mirror. It's just this continual message of like, come on, you got a great heart. Just keep believing in yourself. Keep doing it. Be who you are. Love thyself, right? That's where it all starts. So probably be something along the same lines.
Yes. Self-affirmations, right? Like, love thyself. How can you love someone else if you don't love yourself, right? How can you be of service to others if you don't know your worth, your value? So spot on, Carlos, spot on. Marcelino.
I would tell my 15-year-old self, don't procrastinate your greatness. You're intelligent, you're caring, you're creative. Dream big, but understand that dreams require you to put in the work when you're awake. So don't procrastinate your greatness, dream as big as you can, and then wake up and get to work. And hug people along the way so that others can get some allergies.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and that's what we tell our youth, right? Like, it's not a cliche to say you can literally do whatever you want to do in life. Like, you can literally grow up to be whatever you want to be. I don't care if it's, you could be a mayor someday, right? You could be a leader of an organization. You could be a business owner. I mean, you could literally be whatever you want to be. But it starts with work ethic. It starts with the dream. It starts with knowing that you belong, right? It's understanding that I might not be perfect, but not to never give up. It's about surrounding yourself with good people, as the mayor said. I was always told that you're an average of the 5 people you hang out with. So you think about the 5 people you hang out with, you're probably an average of those people in terms of their characteristic traits, right? And so all very important. And sometimes growing up, you know, as we just shared what we would tell our 15-year-old selves, I mean, some of us didn't have mentors, you know, and sometimes the mentors aren't as obvious in our lives, but they're certainly around us. And so I'm just going to search through the chat bots here for any questions that I might have missed. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and move on just to closing statements. Closing statements, parting wisdom you want to leave to anyone about mentoring in our community, or anything you would like to share, last parting words. And then again, for those who are interested in volunteering, the link is in the chat. It's bbbsaz.org. And I'll throw it in there again. And some of you have already reached out to me and said, hey, sign me up. I'm good. Sign me up. I want to do it. And so let's take this momentum out and back into our communities. Let's talk to the familia. Let's talk to our coworkers, and let's make it happen. I mean, let's make it happen. Let's do it for the culture. Let's do it for our ancestors. I mean, we're all meant for greatness. So let's make it happen. Let's continue that. This generation of greatness continues and grows, right? Each one teach one. So I don't see any other comments here, just comments about what mentoring means to folks in the chat. A couple of folks who are already big brothers, big sisters, sharing their experiences. Rosemary, and speaking of giving someone roses while they're alive, shout out to Rosemary, Mrs. H. I mean, you've done so much for our youth. You have generations of leaders that are probably on this call that you have mentored. And so I'm here to give you your roses while you're still, all of us are here to give you your roses, and we appreciate you. We see you still doing all your hard work. And so you're definitely a gem. You're definitely a gem in our community, and we thank you. We thank you and we love you. All right. Don't see any last burning questions. So let's begin with closing remarks. We're going to close it out, bring us home. Adam, we'll begin with you.
Yeah, first off, Devin, thank you for convening this space and allowing us this opportunity to talk. Everybody, thank you for joining us and listening to us rattle on. It's good for us to have these conversations because this is a chance for us to center ourselves too, and as a reminder for ourselves in the work that we do. You cannot mess up mentoring somebody. I truly think the only way you can mess it up is if you're in it for some sort of gratitude or some sort of, you want something out of it. Like, don't go in wanting something. Go in wanting something for them. Go in wanting to impart something for them. It's so important. Your time can make the difference in somebody's life. And I think, that's just something that's always stuck with me. And I think that's important to remember and I think it's actually, we see it in like the ad council commercials for the Big Brothers, Big Sisters. You can't mess it up. Just go out there and be there and be present for them. Be somebody that they can trust and look up to. So thank you everybody for joining us. And thank you, Devin, for allowing me to be a part of this panel.
Adam, I thank you for multitasking and being here with us to share your life experiences and being very authentic. We appreciate you.
Good mentors have shown me how to multitask during meetings.
Right on. Manny, let's go to you, man. Close us out. Final thoughts.
All right. Speaking of multitasking, you guys might have seen me. I was at the tire shop. My wife got a flat tire, so boom. But all right. So mentoring. First of all, I thank you guys for allowing me to be part of this panel. Thank you for everybody listening in on this conversation. We're going through some tough times right now, but as a people, we're going to get through it together. And if anything, these times right now are giving us the opportunity to do some self-reflection and find ways to better ourselves, better our community, better this world. And what better way to do that than to be a mentor? I love coaching. I love motivating others. So when this opportunity came from Big Brothers and Big Sisters last year, I jumped on it. And it just took a while. I'm a COVID survivor as well, so I was kind of sick when I was going to meet my little. So I finally got the opportunity to do that. My wife wants to be a big sister. I have a list of police officers that want to do this as well. And for those of you viewing or listening into this conversation, I invite you as well to be a big brother, big sister. It's truly gratifying, fulfilling. You're going to make a positive impact, a positive difference in these people, these kids' lives who really need someone stable to be there for them. You know, if I could press rewind, I wish I had myself a mentor growing up, but now I have the time, the opportunity to do that. I'm a father to 3 kids, and now I'm a big brother to a cool 11-year-old who we're gonna go play baseball at Chavez Park next week. So I invite you guys to do the same. And I like to let you guys know to take care of each other and just do great things, and we're gonna come out through this whole situation together. Thank you guys.
Manny, thank you for that. That's awesome. Can't thank you enough for all that you're doing for our community to keep us all safe, and for being one of the good ones out there, leading with integrity. We thank you. It's important for our kids to see that there are some good folks out there doing this work. Thank you, Manny. All right, let's jump on over to Carlos. Close us out, brother.
Thank you again, Devin, for the opportunity, and Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Again, a real honor for me to have share the stage with such a esteemed panel. I would say I think, you know, so much, I'm going to speak from my experience as a Latino. I do think that there's a historical significance to what's happening right now with us as Latinos becoming the majority in this country in a few years. And I think with that, you know, there's this idea to whom much is given, much is expected. So I do think that as Latinos in action with initiatives like Big Brothers, Big Sisters and mentorship, we can help to reshape the culture of the values of this country that can start with responsibility, right? You know, we're in this moment where everyone is trying to point fingers around who's to blame for what's happening in the world. And I think, again, to what Marcelino and everyone share, it's like, that's not our culture. I think that Latinos have always taken responsibility in the care of our family, in the care of our community. And I think, you know, that's inspiring to me, and you guys are all inspiring me. And again, and I'll become a mentor. I think this is how I show empathy in the world, is by action. And I hope to encourage others around the call to do the same, and hope to work with you, brother, because I know how much you care about education in our community and everybody here. So again, thank you so much for this. This is inspiring and moving, and I take more than what I possibly gave. So
thank you, Carlos, brother. Thank you so much. And thank you for your commitment by just jumping right in and saying, hey, you know what, sign me up. You're leading by example. Thank you so much, brother, for joining us here tonight. Can't repay you. Thank you so much. All right. And take it on over to Miss Tida.
So again, yeah, thank you, Devin, for having me, and with all the panelists. It's great to listen to you and inspire. I'm writing down notes, and like, I'm going to use that. Don't procrastinate your greatness, Marcelino. Those are great words. I'm going to make sure to share that often. So just thank you on, and Mayor Tovar. She's my buddy. I love her. And so I think just overall, from our culture and who we are, we're go-getters, right? We're going to keep on going. We're going to keep on moving. But for me personally, what I continue to tell myself on days that it's hard, it's hard what's going on right now, is we're here to spread love. We're here to serve. We're here to be selfless and go by what our passion is. You know, serve in. We can't be great at everything. So what's your passion? Where do you want to focus in trying to make a difference? And how can you help that passion that you have through people, through giving, you know, just sending a nice text, sending something motivational, calling them, like, now we have to pick up the phone and call. We're so used to just sending messages, but I can tell you when I get a call from somebody, it's always at the right moment. Not that I want to talk, but this person's calling me and I have to answer. And I don't have like those pre-screening calls like Devin, you have to go through fanciness, but the whole point is I think that we're here to just make a better impact in our world. And if it's 1% at a time, that's what I want to do. And so thank you again for having us here. I really appreciate it.
We thank you, Tida. Thank you for all that you're doing. Again, as a governing board member, volunteer, by the way, volunteer board member, as a business owner, small business owner, and as a full-time mother, and another job. Man, I mean, I thank you for making the time to be here. I know that time is very precious for all of us. And so thank you, Ms. Tida. Let's jump on over to Mayor Tovar.
Well, thank you, Devin, for having us all together. And I echo your sentiments about Tida. She's a boss lady and she's no joke. She's an inspiration. And just hearing you this evening, Tida, I'm inspired of how aggressively you have just gone out and saying, hey, you need to be a mentor. You can do a mentor. So I'm going to sign up to be a mentor, a big sister, to someone who speaks Spanish, porque, vamos a dar la lucha. And I'm going to take it a little one step further. I'm going to take it back to my organization, the city of Tolleson, where we have about 250 employees, and challenge them to get involved and to be a mentor to someone that needs it and that is probably on a waiting list. And hearing that alone during this whole webinar just broke my heart. I mean, to know that there's kids out there that have been just waiting for someone to come talk to them, take them somewhere to play baseball. The little things in life, and that was one thing that I learned throughout my cancer journeys, is the little things in life valued the most. And sometimes you can bypass them because everything goes so fast. But I think in COVID, we're slowing down, we're smelling the roses, and just take time to appreciate the very small things in life because it could be gone like that. So I'm gonna get to work. I'm gonna get to work tonight too. I'm getting some more mentors.
Mayor Tovar, I thank you so much for your commitment, for your authenticity, for your leadership. You are leading an entire community during these challenging times, and now you're going to take it a step further and help lead our youth. That's amazing. Getting this up, we would love to have the city of Tolleson involved, obviously through your leadership. We would love to make that happen. And the other thing I want to say about our youth is our youth on the wait list. No one forces the kids to sign up. If the kid does not want to be here, we actually don't accept them in the program. So even if we think it's good for them or they need it, we won't accept them unless the kid actually wants to do it. So you're talking about 105 kids who actually want a mentor. That's half the battle, is finding someone who wants to be mentored. They want a big brother or a big sister. They want that. And so hearing Mayor Tovar and her commitment, just stepping up like this, it just brings so much joy. Majority of our littles are in the West Valley. They are in the West Valley. Tolleson, Avondale, Maryville, Peoria. I was just told today, El Mirage, and even a few in Surprise. So we all got to step up. And so thank you for leading by example, Mayor Tovar. Thank you so much. Okay, Marcelino, closing statements.
Devin, you asked us earlier what this pandemic and the peaceful protests have done for us. And I talked about this idea that it's given us pause and it's given us all an opportunity to listen. And so within all of that reflection, I've said something that is absolutely true, which is life has been very kind to me. As an individual, as I reflect back on my life, life has been very kind to me. And Carlos has mentioned this before, but to those that much is given, much is expected of, right? With great power comes great responsibility. And so you started out this conversation needing 105. You got Carlos, you got the mayor, and now you got me. And I'm not just doing it now. I sent you the message half an hour ago. I wasn't going to announce it because it wasn't meant to, oh, this happened. But given that that this esteemed panel that you put together has come out and made it known, I'm in. I'm signing up because life has been kind to me. So the least that I could do is give some of it back. And so that's my invitation to everyone. If you find yourself reflective and feeling that life has been kind to you, then Devin and Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Arizona is presenting us all with the unique and beautiful opportunity to give some of it back. So I'm signing up.
Thank you, brother, for signing up. I just checked my messages. You're right. You sent it about 30 minutes ago. Thank you so much, Marcelino. And I just want to say that tonight, I think we were all treated to a group mentoring session. I invited you guys here to share your wisdom experience, but I think we all ended up getting a group mentoring session. All the participants on the call, all of our guests, I think took away a lot of jewels today, a lot of jewels. And so I can't thank all of you enough. Please, everybody, let's just give it up for our panelists. Thank you so much. Virtual thumbs up, claps. Thank you so much. I mean, you guys have really, you've shifted the conversation to action. And that's where we needed this to go. And I had no doubt that our community, the Latino community, was going to make it happen. No doubt about it. And so you guys are living, breathing examples of what greatness is. And I can't thank you all enough. As I mentioned, this session was recorded. We're going to share it out with our staff members, our team, because we want people to learn and listen. We want other people to be motivated by your words here that were shared tonight. And so I can't thank you enough. We had over 30 people join us this evening, you know, and you guys, just amazing job all around. Thank you so much. And so please, if you would like me to follow up, place your contact information in the chat. I'm going to place my email here, my work email. Okay. So for those of you who don't have it, I'm going to put that in there. Please reach out to me. If we need to go talk to your organization, if you want us to reach out to one of your buddies or your civic organization, let us know. Let's partner. Miss H, let's partner. You see, our philosophy is there is no competition. The work is too great. The need is too big. We cannot afford to work in silos. I'm talking, we need a partner. We need to uplift each other. And so that's what we're all about. And so however we can collaborate, count us in. Count us in. So again, I want to thank you all so much for taking the time out, you know, and enjoy the rest of your evening. And please stay safe out there. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Great weekend, everyone.
Nice meeting you all.